All right. Okay, we're live. Today's lesson is on 5.7. It's called Comparing and Ordering Unit Fractions. So, before we can compare and order unit fractions, our first lesson is to talk about what we're going to be doing. Unit fractions are fractions that have a 1 in the numerator. Is the numerator the top of a fraction or the bottom of a fraction, Brooke? It's the top. That is correct. So now that you know that it has to have a 1 in the top, let's go on to the next step. Unit fractions can be compared by and ordered by comparing their denominators. You may not understand what I'm talking about just yet, but you will. All right, so, Kaylin, what fraction of the following is shaded?
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5, correct. So we have 1/5, which is shaded. Everybody agree with me?
Yeah.
Yes, Kate, what is your question?
We already did this.
No, you haven't. Next question, we know that's true. Now, this is called a unit fraction because it has a 1 in this here fraction. The numerator is a 1. Now, it's called a unit because all of this whole strip is 5, and it's made up of these units. Each one is a fifth, isn't it? So this is a fifth right here, this is a fifth, this is a fifth, this is a fifth, and this here is a fifth. So we call them units because this strip, this fraction strip, is made up of fifths. What kind of fifth? 1/5. Okay? Yes? Pardon me? How's that, better? Alright. I hope it doesn't affect anything else. But alright, so we now have to know what is the unit fraction which shows this one then, Meg?
1 out of 4.
That's right. This is a unit fraction of 1/4, 1/4, or sometimes called 1/4. Okay? And what about this one, Ethan?
1 out of
1/3. So this is made up of thirds. That's called a unit fraction. All right. So we know that that's correct. Let's take a look at this one. Can you draw me 1/7? Who hasn't done it in a long time? Oh, I already asked you a question. Okay, Caleb, come up here and draw me a picture of 1/7. Yeah.
2, 3,
Okay, and there we go. How many of you? 1 second, and I'll put it down so you can get it. Okay. Okay, so we are now shading and happy facing 1 out of 7. That makes it a unit fraction. Okay? So far, so good. And I think I agree with you here. So now that you know what a unit fraction is, what's a fraction that has a 1 in it, now we have to do some comparing so that you can tell me which unit fractions are greater and which unit fractions are less. And eventually, we're going to get you to put things in order. Yes, Kate? No. All right, so let's take a look at the first one. I want you to take a look at these two fractions. 1/3, 1/3, and 1/4, 1/4. I want you to see if you can tell me, without doing anything just yet, or do an estimation, which fraction do you think is the greater amount? Sydney? She says the 1 out of 4. How many by show of hands agree with her? Don't look at each other. Think for yourself. How many of you disagree with her? 2?
I'm kind of in the middle.
You're kind of in the middle.
I don't know what to say.
Well, maybe it would be easier if we drew the pictures.
Oh.
Do you agree with me that the top strip there is 1/3? 1 out of 3. All right, what about the bottom? Is that 1/4?
Yeah.
Now, they're the same size, so which one is larger?
The 1 over the top is bigger.
The 1 out of 3. So this one here, you're right, this one is larger. The 1 out of 3 is larger.
Right. The strip is bigger than the one.
Not really. If you take a look, I tried to make them the same length. I mean, they're close enough that it's very obvious. that the 1 over 3 goes to here, right? And the 1 out of 4 stops there. So the 1 over 3, 1 part out of 3, is a larger fraction than the 1 over 4. Yes, kid?
So it depends, how does it depend on how long the strip is?
You think that matters? Let me just check something
Well,
here.
how long the squares are.
Okay, they have to be, how long the squares are. What if I shrink these down? I'm just gonna, so I don't know if I can make this happen. This is kind of not part of my plan, but we'll see if we can make it happen here. So here, give me my arrow. It's not doing it.
Ooh, it is shrinking.
Okay. So if I shrink this down to there, and then I grab this one, and I shrink it down to be the same length, have we changed which one is greater?
No.
No.
But like what I mean is, let's say, like, I don't know how to say that. Never mind, I don't know how to say it.
Okay, well maybe it'll come clear as we go. 1/3 is greater than 1/4. Okay, so we know that 1/3 is larger. Oops, back up, this is here. What do you notice about the denominators here? So let's look at the denominators for a second, the 3 and the 4. Sydney?
Bottom denominator is bigger than the top denominator. I mean, the 1 out of 3, or the 3 is lower than 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And these were pieces of dessert. Which one would you like?
The 1 out of 3.
Why?
Because they're bigger.
Okay. So you think about this. If you want to find out which one is greater, I want you to think of these as being dessert and how many friends you have to share it with. If you take a look at the 1 over 3, you've got 3 friends, don't you?
No, you got 2.
And you get one piece, well, like 2 friends, but there's 3 of you sharing it, so you get 1 out of the 3. This one you have to share with 3 other friends, so there's 4 of you splitting up, right? So when you have a pie or a dessert of one shape, one size, which is the same, if you want more, do you want to share with more friends or less friends? Less. So here's the thing, here's one of the things, that less is more when we're talking about this, right? Less people you share with, the bigger the piece you get. Alright, so if I want to know which is greater, 1/3 or 1/4, if I take a pie and cut it into 3 pieces, or I take a pie and I cut it into 4 pieces, which of these 1 pieces do you think is going to be the larger piece? The 1 out of 3 or the 1 out of 4? The 1 out of 3. So keep that in your head, because that's how you tell. Let's go on to the next one. So the smaller the denominator, the larger the fraction, the larger the piece of pie. Okay, let's take a look at 1 over 5 and 1 over 2. We've done a lot of talking on it, so maybe you can make a guess now as to which you think is greater. Ryan, what do you think?
1 out of 2.
1 out of 2 is greater. How many of you agree with it this time?
Oh, yeah.
You're not sure? Okay, you got your hands up?
I can't see.
Yeah, well then look sideways. There you go, see? So you're thinking that 1 out of 2 is greater than 1 out of 5. Can anybody give me an explanation without diagrams, just using some common sense? What do you think, or why do you think that's so? Leon?
Because with 1 out of 2, you're only sharing it with 1 friend, so you have more space. You have more parts.
Right. If this was a pizza, right, and you get half of it, you get a lot. If this was a pizza and you had to have it split into 5s, I don't even know if I could draw 5s,
There you go.
you're going to get 1 piece. So which one do you get more from?
1/2.
The 1/2. So in fact, this one here is a larger fraction, isn't it? It represents more. Yes, Meg?
If you notice, the left-hand side on 1 out of 2 is actually bigger. So you probably want that.
I think, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay, so I don't know if I can change that, but no, I can't. Okay, we'll have to deal with it. All right, so how do I know? Well, if I draw pictures to show, I think this one's pretty obvious, isn't it? The top one is showing 1 piece out of 5. So you think about a very, very long pie tin, right? This is a blueberry pie tin. Tie pin. Blueberry tie pin. Okay? So if you take a look, this is 1 out of 5, this is 1 out of 2. It's really obvious that the 1 out of 2, you get much more, don't you? Yes, Kate?
We'll make pies, and then we should rate the fraction in it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to talk to somebody who bakes. I can't do that.
And then we can
Talk
start.
to our
I don't bake. Alright. Alright, so now let's do it without drawing. 1/3 versus 1/25. Alright, even.
1/3.
1/3 is larger. Why do you say this is larger?
You get more pieces.
You get more pieces?
You get more space.
Yeah, you get more space.
More space? This is divided up like this, isn't it? You get one of those. And over here, I don't know how to divide 25 up. But there's like lots, and you get this little tiny sliver. Right? So you have a choice. You can have this piece or you can have this piece.
That piece.
I think, for instance, we're all basically pigs, right? It makes more sense that we want more food. Well, I didn't say you look like pigs.
But I think if you want to share with the whole class, it's better to go on a 25.
I'll tell you the truth. I love dessert too. Alright, so the smaller the denominator, the larger the fraction. Start seeing this now? Smaller the denominator, larger the fraction. Alright, last question right here. Who haven't I asked? David, do you want to take a crack at this one? Which one is larger? Or would you rather share a piece of pie with 12 people or share a piece of pie with 8 people? Which one would get you more pie?
Well, it depends on the extent.
Well, in this case, it's only 8, right here. Right?
7. Why?
You and 7 people and you and 11 people, whatever, right? Which one would you get more with? That's right. So this one here is larger. The easy way, take a look at the 8. If you're only cutting it up within, to share with 8, among 8 people, or you're cutting it up and sharing it among 12 people, it's much easier, or you get much more to share it among 8 people. So this one right here is larger. Alright, I think I said that smaller denominator means larger fraction. Okay, so now what I want to do is just take a look at putting these in order from the smallest to largest. And whenever you get questions like this, I want you to be very careful and read it, because sometimes it says smaller to largest, and sometimes it says largest to smallest. And if you get them in the wrong order, you're going to have some trouble. Okay, Brooke, what do you think? What is the smallest one?
Oh, no, 9.
1 out of 9. So this is the smallest right here, right? Smallest. And which one is in the middle size? Abby? Okay, so this is in the middle.
Mystery, can I finish it off?
And which one is the last one? David? Which one is the largest? Which one? 1 out of 3. This is the largest. Okay? So if you take a look here, you can see this is the smallest denominator. This has the middle denominator. And this has the largest denominator. So now when you check those denominators, remember the smaller the denominator, the larger the fraction. So when you do this, we said this is largest, middle, smallest. We used that a minute ago. So that means that in order, it should be 1/9, 31st, followed by 1/5,
Backward.
followed by 1/3.
It's not that hard. All you can do.
Smallest to largest, Leon. It's not backwards.
Well, I mean, it's 3 by
Oh, you mean,
9.
oh, I see. You say going this way. It's actually ordered from largest to largest to smallest.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just
that's
happens to
going
be.
the other way.
Yeah, well, that happens that way. All right, a little bit different.
Oh.
1/12, 1/2, and 1/6. Okay, Haley. What do you think? Which one is the smallest of these three?
1/12.
1/12 is the smallest. That is correct. Kate, which one is the second largest?
Go to 6.
1 out of 6. This is number 2 in our list. And I think number 3 is pretty obvious. Abby?
1 and 2.
Yeah, number 3. So,
Why is the hardest one?
it's because you guys are smart today. So there's your list. 1/12, followed by 1/6, followed by 1/2. How are we doing? Scale of 1 to 5. Put a hand up, show me some fingers. 5 is you got it and you're bored and need to go on.
9. And
Yeah.
I'm bored.
Oh yeah, okay. So, guess what it is? There you
Diamond.
go. Alright. So, get out your notes, get out your do-it-tangs. Actually, do that. So let's get started.